What up, though, y'all? Shane G, politics as usual, right here on Ethos Media Network. Make sure you like, you share, you subscribe. We got a doozy today. So, if y'all been paying attention over the past week, y'all know that they've been trying to elect the new speaker for the House of Representatives. And since the Republicans currently are in control of who becomes speaker, they have the majority. So typically, whoever has the majority, their person becomes the Speaker of the House. So, what transpired this week, however, was very interesting. There was a group of 20 Republicans. I believe they were all members of the Freedom Caucus. And what they did was they said, okay, Kevin McCarthy, if you want to be Speaker and you want our votes, we need you to do this list of things. If you don't do this list of things or don't promise that you're going to do this list of things, you're not going to get our vote. End of story. The strategy was very successful. They went through 10 rounds of voting, possibly more. I think it was 10. They went through 10 rounds of voting before Kevin McCarthy was finally elected Speaker of the House. Do you know what happened to get him to finally get the votes? He conceded on everything that those 20 Republicans wanted. That's what happened. So, I don't know what the concessions were that they specifically wanted to fight for. I don't know if I agree with those concessions. I don't know if those are things that I would like. Probably not. Those are probably things I would all, on an issue for issue basis or on a policy basis, I would probably disagree with some of the stuff that they want to do. There's one thing for sure that I know that I agree with. They wanted to take $75 billion away from the military budget. Yes. Aside from that, I don't really know the other things that they wanted. So I can't speak on whether or not I agree with the actual substance of the arguments that they were making with Kevin McCarthy. I can't say whether or not I do. Like I said, probably not. There's one issue for sure that I agree with him on, and that's that $75 billion. With that being said, they got all the concessions that they wanted. Kevin McCarthy is still the Speaker of the House. Now let's rewind 2 years ago. 2 years ago, Nancy Pelosi was running for Speaker of the House, and she needed a certain number of votes. And so there were certain groups of people on the left, Revolutionary Blackout Network, Breonna Joy Gray, Sabrina from Sabby Sabs. You know, she's also part of the Revolutionary Blackout Network. I'm specifically, naming certain hosts first. But those three entities, and then of course, the person who kind of sparked the idea into the consciousness of, the left was Jimmy Dore. Now, obviously, people have a lot of personal issues with Jimmy Dore for various reasons. But the strategy itself was good. It was good enough to where basically even all of his enemies were like, yo, I don't like him, but this is a good idea. We should do this. Then at some point, Breonna Joy Gray and a gentleman named Sam Cedar, they're having a debate. And Sam Cedar, I don't know if he let this slip. I don't know if he was just being honest or what, but he said, I got a phone call from somebody that told me this isn't a good strategy and we should stop doing it. And right around that same time, everybody who was on board for it, who doesn't like Jimmy Dore, all of a sudden became against it. And the lie that they told why they were against it and what it is basically is the exact same thing that the Republicans were doing. We were asking the squad. So AOC, Jamal Bowman, Cori Bush, Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Presley. And that's all of them, right? Yeah, I think that's all of them. We were asking them to basically essentially do the exact same thing that that the Republicans just did to Kevin McCarthy. We were like, yo, she's the only person who wants to be the Speaker of the House. She needs a certain number of votes in order to become Speaker of the House. So how about we get some concessions from her before we pledge our vote to her? That was literally the exact same strategy. Do you know the lie that all of those people said? Your Sam Cedars, your Cenk Uygurs, your, all of these people. What was the lie that they kept saying? They kept saying, if you do that strategy and Nancy Pelosi doesn't get enough votes, then the Republican Kevin McCarthy would become Speaker of the House. That's what they all said. Every single one of them kept saying that. Don't let them lie to you and say that that's not what they said. There's video of it out there. They all said that the Republicans would somehow become Speaker of the House if the squad didn't vote for Nancy Pelosi. We see right now that that's not what happens. What happens is you just go to another round of voting. If you don't have the number of votes that is necessary, you do not become Speaker. It doesn't matter if you have a majority of your party that votes for you and everybody else is voting how they would normally vote anyway. Doesn't matter. You need a majority of Congress, or a majority of the House. So that's not even how that works. Like, you can't just default, well, the next person who got the next most votes wins. That's not how that works. You would just go through a whole new round of voting, which is what we've seen with the Republicans right now. We've seen them go through 10 rounds of voting. And this is the other thing. People were saying, well, if the squad doesn't vote for Pelosi and they vote present, then that's going to lower the threshold of the votes needed for the Republican to be able to take over. Sure, that's true. Why would any Democrat vote present? You can vote for anybody. You can write your own name in. You can write anybody's name in. You can write in my name. You can write in Bernie Sanders' name. You can write in my dad's name. You can write in whoever's name. Doesn't matter. As long as you don't vote present and you vote for a person. It doesn't matter if they're running or not. If you vote for a person, then the vote counts stay the same, or the vote totals that are needed to become the speaker stay the same. So we've seen this, because if what Cenk and all of them were saying was true, then Hakeem Jeffries, who was the previous Speaker of the House, would currently be the Speaker of the House because the Republicans didn't vote for Kevin McCarthy. Under the logic of Cenk Uygur and all of those dudes who said, if the squad doesn't vote for Nancy Pelosi, then the Republican will take over. That's literally what they all said. We're seeing evidence of that right now that that's not true, because if that were the case, then the Democrat would be the speaker right now because they didn't vote for the Republican. So clearly that wasn't ever true. If you don't know how Congress works, then you would have assumed that to be true. But if you knew that that's not even how the voting works, you need a certain number, and it doesn't matter. If we don't get this certain number, then you just won't have a Speaker of the House until somebody gets that number. That's how it works. So you could go on at infinitum doing this. They could have went to 15 rounds of voting. They could have went to 20. They could have went to 50 if it was necessary. And clearly they were the ones with the leverage, because Kevin McCarthy said, all right, I'm going to do all that stuff that you guys want. Please just vote for me. And they were like, okay, we will now, because we have you on the record saying that you're going to do these things. That strategy, again, leaving substance out of it, because I don't know all of the things that the Republicans wanted, and it's from the Freedom Caucus, who I believe are like the far right, everybody's far right, but they are the ones who self-identify as being far right. So, again, substance aside, the strategy was beautiful. I love the strategy. This is my biggest issue with the Democrats right now, is that they're too scared and too weak to do anything ever. And they give you all these excuses why certain things can't be done. And oh my God, but then this bad thing might happen. But then we see the Republicans just come in and do everything that we want the lefties to do strategically, not substantively. Strategically, obviously, we want different, or substantively, obviously, we want different things. We want to end the wars. We want Medicare for all. We want free college. We want to cancel student debt. We want a Green New Deal. You know what I mean? Like, these are the things that the left wants, but we don't even have a strategy at all on how to obtain one of those things. How much closer are we to any of those things? When somebody tell me in the comments, how much closer are we to free college? How much closer are we to Medicare for all? How much closer are we to ending the wars and reinvesting the over $800 billion per year that we spend on the military back here at home? Like, who's supposed to be fighting for that stuff? Like, it was supposed to be the squad. But then they go in and they give us a million excuses on why they can't do this and why they can't do that. And oh my God, it's Nancy Pelosi's fault. And oh my God, it's Kirsten Sinema's fault. And oh my God, it's Chuck Schumer's fault. And oh my God, it's Joe Manchin's fault. Wait, so you're telling me that two people, Joe Manchin and Kirsten Sinema, can block all of the Democratic legislation by like holding their ground? Also, they're doing the strategy that we want y'all to do, but for good things. If two people can hold up the president's agenda, that means that more than two people obviously could do the same thing, right? Again, we just saw it with the Republicans. 20 Republicans got everything they wanted because they held the line. And you know what? I bet you there's a huge segment of the population that loves them for it. Like I said, I love the strategy. I don't know substantively whether or not it's going to be good or bad. My guess is bad because, they're right wingers. So I don't subscribe to that. But I love the strategy. Another controversial thing maybe to say, January 6th. Like, I, again, disagree with the reasons that they did that. But do I like the fact that they scared politicians? Yeah. Politicians should be scared because they're way too lax. They feel like they can do anything, lie to us, spit in our face. And then as soon as we say something back, we're being violent or we're being misogynistic or we're being anti whatever they are. Nah. I disagree with you because you lied to me and you said that you were going to Congress to do X, Y, Z, and you haven't done none of it. So I say all that to say this. The Republicans, they showed us that a strategy of holding the line until you get the concessions that you want, it works. It doesn't matter how much the media trashes you. It doesn't matter how much your other political allies, quote unquote, your colleagues in your party trash you or disagree with you or say it's a bad idea. None of that. None of that matters if you get what you and what the people who you represent want at the end of the day. That's my point. So, squad, get some fight in you. Otherwise, you're going to keep looking like clowns when the Republicans come in, do whatever they want, get all the policies they want. The country keeps getting shittier and shittier because there's no left-wing balance to the country. So these Republicans and right-wingers just keep getting to do whatever they want. And it's because they're strategic about it. That's the whole reason. They're strategic and they stay on code. So I think the left could learn a lot from this past week. And that's basically my takeaway. And let me know what y'all think. You know what I mean? A lot of people were trying to make it seem like, oh my God, the Republicans it's a shit show. And it's like, first of all, politics is supposed to be messy. It's not supposed to be this clean, thing where it's like, oh, when people really have principles and really stand on their ideas, it gets ugly. That's what it's supposed to be. You're supposed to passionately be arguing with the other side to prove your point. It's not supposed to be all this go along to get along stuff. Like, look at a parliament session in the United Kingdom. They be tripping on each other. Big tripping. So this whole polite society, I'm Joe Biden, the president and the leader of the Democrats, but Kevin McCarthy is a great friend of mine and all of this. It's like, cool, that can be cool behind the scenes. Don't say that in public. Like, there's no reason for that. Because all that does is show people like me, oh, you're just going to bend the will to the same people that he's going to bend the will to. There's no difference in ideology between you two. Again, other than one side's going to say polite things about minorities in public and the other one is going to be a little bit more honest about how they feel about minorities. That's really the only difference between the two parties. Substantively, there's not really much difference. Tax cuts, check. More war, check. More homelessness, check. More job loss, check. When I say job loss, I mean the amount of money that workers bring in. That's actually specifically what I mean. Because job loss, that's a weird indicator. Some people will be like, under Trump, there was the lowest level of black unemployment ever. And it's like, all right, yeah, that's true. But guess what? Most of those jobs were shitty jobs. So all those people were still on, government assistance and all of this kind of stuff. So it's not like their quality of life was any better because they were working. So I feel like that's kind of a misnomer. You know what I mean? Like, what are the real things that you can measure to see if people's lives are getting better? None of that has gotten better under Democrats or Republicans. Republicans are just way more honest about it. They're like, we don't care about y'all. We care about business and money. And if you happen to find some success within that system, then good for you. That's their whole thing. Like, you know what I mean? That's their whole thing. Their whole philosophy is whatever you got going on, that's not my problem. You know what I'm saying? I'm trying to look out for me and mines, and if you happen to benefit, then cool. But if not, oh well. Like, that's the whole thing, and they tell you that up front. They're very upfront about who they are. Democrats are the ones who always try to act like they're pro-worker, pro-minority, and all of their policies lead to more damaging results for those groups that they claim to protect. And then when they have opportunities to actually fight for the stuff, they never do. So, my closing thoughts, squad, learn something from the Freedom Caucus, because they just showed y'all how it really works. When you believe in something and you want change and you want actual demands to be met, you got to play hardball. You can't be doing all this mama bear and all Nancy Pelosi's the homie and all of this, taking pictures with her on Vanity Fair, smiling. You can't do none of that if you want us to take you serious, because we know who she is, and she's pretty honest about who she is. You can see it in tweets all the time when people, when Nancy Pelosi's like, "Oh, pray for my husband," and blah, blah, blah. We had that break-in at the house and he got beat up or whatever happened. All right, cool. And then you look in the comments and everybody's like, well, hey, if you give us the same health care you got, the best comment I think was, I'll pray I pray as much for your husband as you pray that we get Medicare for all. You're just going to see a bunch of stuff like that. It's a bunch of, we don't feel bad for you. We're never going to pray for you and your husband and all this nonsense. That's never going to happen. Like, you have clearly shown over and over again throughout the years that you do not care about the American public at all. All you care about is money. So why should we care about you and your husband getting beat up in your house? We don't. At all. Not even a little bit. Nobody felt sorry for you. So, Democrats, if you could please get it together and just do some of the stuff that the Republicans do strategically, but fight for the stuff that we actually want, that would be beautiful. That's my main takeaway, y'all. Watch the debate between Breonna Joy Gray and Sam Cedar if you would like a full breakdown from somebody who's a lot more eloquent than I am, who can break down the very nuances and what each individual person can do and all of this stuff. This debate happened 2 years ago. So I definitely want y'all to go check that out. In the meantime, like, share, subscribe. This is Shane G over here at the Ethos Media Network with Politics as Usual. We'll be back next Saturday. I hope y'all had a good New Year, and we'll see what happens. Peace, y'all.